I'm down here in Chicago, and I was coming out of Martini Ranch one night and walking down the street or sidewalk, going home, and I reached the corner of Franklin and Chicago Avenue. I was heading eastbound. Martini Ranch was east of it on Chicago. And I reached the corner, and a police car stops me. And they got a 911 call, and they responded within a minute. A black man called them, and he said that I threw a beer bottle that threw it across the street, and it landed and went through his windshield or cracked his windshield. First of all, I told him I didn't throw it, and I would never take a beer bottle out of a nightclub and smuggle it out. And if anyone knows me, I don't consider liquor precious, and I leave glasses and beer bottles behind. Yeah. Or, like I've done many times, I pour them out in the bathroom sink and give the empty bottle back. But I would never leave a club or anywhere with a beer bottle. Having liquor in public is illegal. But these fucking pieces of shit. So, no evidence or anything, and he just said, hearsay, that I did it. And I denied them, and the one cop, he knew me for years and years. The female cop didn't. And he said to let me go. She didn't. But the thing is, did they go over there and grab evidence of the beer bottle? Take pictures of the broken, windshield? Did they show me? I never even got to see the windshield I was accused of breaking. And what type of beer bottle was it? Because Martini Ranch only carries certain types of beer. Jamie, my friend, owned Martini Ranch. So he would have been happy to tell them what type of beer they carry, to see if the bottle was even one of theirs at all. But what did they do? They took the black guy's word for it and threw me in jail. And my brother had to come pick me up, and I bonded out, individual reconnaissance bond, and I showed up for court. He didn't show up for court. The judge dismissed it. But I still went to jail because the black guy just accused me. No evidence, no nothing. I never saw the window. Truly, I never saw the bottle that I supposedly threw. It was all taken off of his conjecture, his word. Wow. And I just called the police, and 911 hung up on me multiple times. I wanted to press charges against the driver for threatening me with his vehicle. And they denied me, not only once, twice, 3 times. The last one, I asked, how is 911 legally allowed to disconnect? How the hell are they allowed to hang up? I worked for places, and we told people, we can't hang up. Until you hang up the phone, it stays connected. I don't have a disconnect button. So you'll have to end the phone call. So how are they allowed to hang up? 911. How are they allowed to terminate a phone call? It is beyond me. But the funny thing is, nothing. 10 years, I call 911 and they constantly hang up on me. For 10 years running now, they've hung up on me continuously. Every time I call them, and then for the last 10 years, the police constantly threaten to throw me in jail. Constantly threaten to put me away. It's amazing. When it comes to me, they threaten to throw me in jail. They threaten me hostilely. They do all kinds of disgraceful things to me, belittling me, truly calling me names like the Niles police, you name it. These fucking pieces of shit. And 10 straight years, they've been doing the riot act against me constantly. As people attack me, they don't. Lawyers denied me any ability to get a lawyer when I got hit on the highway. They denied me. I called Lerner and Rowe. They didn't follow up. I gave them the incident report and everything so they could pull it. Nothing. Everybody constantly denying me. They beat me in the street. The bartender calls me a racist, the female bartender. The most racist things all I said was, how about purified water for Africa? How about cleaning up the water? The most racist thing they've ever heard. These fucking cops, like the Deerfield cop. I get my car done at a Hispanic car wash. And I go in there. And my car, I pick it up and it's not working correctly. They didn't dry, they soaked the fuse box. All they had to do is cover it up, seal it, and do the carpets. They didn't, and got the fuses all wet. Then they could have just blow dried it with cool air and dried it off. But instead, they get all in my face, so I call the Deerfield police. I tell him what's going on. Cop goes in, comes out. I said, so what's the resolution? He said, never call the Deerfield Police Department again. I've never called the Deerfield Police Department again. That's like 8 years ago. And they didn't do anything. I dried off the fuses. But this has been going on. My complex, I get attacked by Hispanic people coming all the way across. Or a black guy at Potbelly's. I'm at the back, he's at the front leaving, and he turns around and comes all the way back in. And I said, talking to the white kids, I used the word white. And he's like, what? I said, white. These white boys. And he's like, what? And it starts threatening me. And then he threatens me. I get in the car. He threatened me again. I'm minding my own business. A black girl pulls up. She gets out, walks by me, overhears me, and is like, that's not true. And I said, I disagree. And she comes all the way back, threatening me. And she has a steel box, and she threatens to hit me with the steel box. I was talking about all the hit and run incidents that happened to be on the South Side with black people driving the car, hitting other black people, and taking off because they don't have proper insurance and everything. They don't want to get a ticket because they have low integrity. So when they hit another brother, they just take off. Massive amounts of hit and run. Not white people hitting black people hitting black people and taking off. Just like gun violence, all the black people shooting each other and then taking off and leaving the other black man to die. But anyways, I was just talking about the hit and run incidents. And I told her I disagree. Here, I got the statistics in front of me that agree with me. And she comes over and she wants to hit me with a steel box. I walked up opposite way. I was going to go into the subway. I walked away. And then she gets into her truck and follows me, taking pictures of me, calling me a racist piece of shit. It's fucking unbelievable. And then at Cubs Park, I'm just doing a video, and some guy gets out of his car and threatens me. And then he's beside me, and he opens a thing, and he keeps on brandishing a knife to me. But every time I call 911, they hang up on me. So it's interesting. So every time I call the police, they hang up on me. Star 999, when I was on the highway and hit, I was reporting another car that was broken down. I was calling Star 99, and I was reporting a car on the side of the road where the two girls were tailgating me, and I had my flashers on, and I pumped my brakes and slowing down to get them over before the Hispanic guy flew into them tailgating me. Oh yes, tailgating right on my ass on the highway. When the Hispanic guy hit them, they hit me hard, and then the Hispanic guy kept on going. As their car went off into the ditch to the right, he hit me again and spun me. But I was on with Star 999 reporting a car that needed assistance on the side of the road. Good Samaritan. I didn't get a Good Samaritan. And Star 99, they didn't call the police. Honda Link came on. But I was reporting a car to get assistance, a safety or well-being check by a state trooper when I got hit on the highway coming to Chicago for a slice of pizza at Bonocci's, or yeah, something like that. But I was trying to help somebody else. And then the black state trooper threatens to give me a ticket. Threatens to put me in jail. And then leaves me standing on the side of the road for over an hour while he fills out the report. The two girls were taken away in an ambulance. The other guy, he walked up to me and said that he didn't hit me, the Hispanic guy. He reeked of alcohol. I said, didn't you come from that SUV up there? Yes. Well, that SUV was the one that hit me. I didn't hit you. And I said, okay, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, fine. And then he walked back to his SUV and drove away. So, I don't get it. I can go on and on. 10 years of these stories of me getting fucked over by everybody and them getting away with it. Lawyers. I come down to the city of Chicago to a law school that said they could help me with my taxes. I get down here. I get it waiting in the meeting room. They come in and say, well, we can't do anything for you. But the whole point, when the meeting, you said you could help me. No, we can't do anything. So I drive all the way down here, no money, pay for expensive parking, go in the meeting room, wait for them. They come in and they tell me the opposite. No, we can't do anything for you. Have a good day. So I leave the law school and get in my car and drive home. But why did you tell me to come all the way down here? I'm all the way down here because you told me you could do something, and then you tell me you can't do anything. But all this shit has been going on and on like this, year in, year out. But it's not year in, day fucking out. These fucking pieces of shit Hispanics attacking me for the last 10 fucking years with their black fucking partners. But they're not only, I get crazy white people at Starbucks. I get 2 crazy Asian guys. I'm in the grocery store, Jingbu, and the Asian guy is looking at something in the aisle, and I say, just stay there. I'll go around. He's like, no, you go. I'm like, no, that's okay. You were there first. I'll walk around. And then he comes up and he threatens to kick my fucking ass in the grocery store. Because I told him you didn't need to move and that I'll go around. You're there first. I don't want to disturb you. And he wants to beat my ass because of that. So I don't really go to Jinbu anymore. Then I'm in H Mart, and the fucking Hispanic guy threatens me multiple times, many different times. And I'm up there at the checkout, and he pushes the dust mop right up to me, and he's standing there. I'm at the checkout. I got the cart. I need to go, and he's blocking my cart. He's blocking me. So I just grabbed my grocery bag, backed up, went around the cart and the broom, and went out the door and just left the cart by the register. But this has been going on and again 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 and again. And these motherfuckers, they get all the good shit. They get the money, they get the fucking girl, they get the prestige. I watch them honored on TV and how much they do for America and how many problems they're solving. And Kelly Clarkson and the rad people. And all these just like awesome people doing awesome things. I only see people every day, like the one guy on Lake Cook, the white guy with the BMW, black BMW, 4-door. He fucking comes flying up on me, almost slams into me. I tell him, flick him off. He rolls down his window, and then he threatens to kill me. Hold it. You flew up on me. There's multiple lanes. There was no one in the other lane. Actually, 2 other lanes. There's no one in the other lanes. You didn't have to fly up on me and almost slam into me. And then I give you the finger. You roll down the window, and now you're paralleling me, and you're constantly threatening to kill me. And I told them the government should put a bullet through your head. And then I have to slam on the brakes and dart down port wine, going behind him to get away from him, constantly threatening to kill me. Just like the Uber guy, who Uber fires me, him and the other guy, They're in the back. They physically accost me. When I shake his hand, he physically hurts my hand. But his whole time, the one guy is saying, do you know who he is? Do you know who he is? Do you know? I'm like, no, I don't know who he is. He's blank. I'm like, okay, he's this guy. I don't know anything about that person. And he's continuously threatening to kill me. And so I stop the car, tell him to get out, and I get out, and I square off with him. And I said, are you going to make a move? And he's like, no, I'm not going to hit you. Then I guess, then we're not scrapping. I get back in the car and drive away. And I call Boss Bar and report them as two drunken people they shouldn't let in. And Uber immediately fires me. Because I call Uber, report the incident. They threaten my life continuously. And I get fired. You gotta be fucking kidding me. And all these people continuously threaten my fucking life. And I get fired. Uber, Lyft, Via, I'm fired. Then I come down here for my designation, the AIFA. And the first class, I come down here, the fucking kid, the two guys in my study group cut me out. And the teacher is telling me, and he pulls me aside and tells me that basically I'm not doing the right things. And I'm like, what do you fucking mean? These two motherfuckers cut me out. Wouldn't even do anything. Wouldn't even talk to me. You put me in a group with them. They just left me on an island. And then they flunk me. And then I go and take it again. And what happens again? A white guy, but those were two white guys. This white guy, he does the same fucking thing to me. And they flunk me again. And this is all I get. And then I get fired from Platinum because I didn't sign a piece of paper. So I get everybody threatening my fucking life continuously. And if I call or do anything, they hang up on me. And I drive around every day. They extreme tailgate me. They've hit me, T-boned me. A girl getting off the highway slams in, T-bones me, takes off. First, the guy in front of me blocked me so I couldn't move up and avoid the collision. And then the girl T-boned me, and then the two cars took off together. But it's like, what the hell? I called the police, give the police report, we can't do anything for you. And obviously I only had liability insurance. And I give them the report anyways, and they're like, well, you only have liability, you have no coverage. Can't do anything for you. Just like the Uber driver who stole my phone. And somehow I go on the internet and you can't contact Uber. And then I have to walk in the rain to the store and I want to report my phone stolen and everything. And the girl asked me, Hispanic fucking slut bitch, asked me for a fucking ID, and I'm like, I told you, they stole my phone and everything. I can tell you the last phone calls. I can give you all my personal information. Don't you have a picture of me on the account? So you can do visual verification? You should have a picture there or some biometric type of ID. She's like, no, we can't do anything for you. Fuck you! Truly. Pull me over like the Niles cop. They said it's my civil rights to say fuck you to the cops. I looked it up. They said you have every right to say fuck you to them. So I'm exercising my civil rights. Another piece of shit cop. But again, where was I? Oh yeah, stole my phone. And I go up there, I have to walk home. I walked all the way. I have neuropathy and everything. I walked all the way up there in the pouring fucking rain. And then I had to walk home in the pouring fucking rain. They stole my bank cards and everything. And then the Buffalo Grove cops come over to take a report. And they're like, we're just filing a report. That's it, an incident report. We can't do anything for you. We're not, looking into a phone theft ring or anything, which it could be. It could be a ring that's stealing cell phones. But they're like, no, we just filed an incident report. There's nothing we can do for you. So everybody turns me down. And then they call me to donate blood. I've donated blood every year for the last 10 years. And multiple times a year. And there's always an urgent need. And then I got to go around to all these different locations to get my COVID-19 shot. And instead of being right down at the local CVS, I got to drive, 45 minutes away to get this shot. Then I have to come down to some, facility where the military's run it to get this shot. And I'm driving all the way over here and driving all the way over there to, get my COVID-19 shots. And then the mask compliant. I go to O'Reilly's. I walk all the way over. It's, a decent walk in the pouring rain. I get there. I'm soaking wet. I need something. They're like, you don't have a mask. You can't come in. So I have to go all the way back home, get my mask. Walk all the way back. Then I walk all the way back. And I go in the store with my mask and they don't have what I need. So I got to go back home in the pouring rain. But the funny thing is, who the fuck else is going through this? And I'm my bigwig. They charge you a fucking fortune. And then I go in there and I'm constantly getting threatened. It's a fucking joke. Everybody shitting on me. Truly, my dentist, everything. They've made it, my appointments, my last dental appointments, they made very painful to clean my teeth. Before it wasn't, but now it's painful. Why did they start inflicting pain on me and making my hygiene appointments very painful? And they're not doing the same quality of care. And they're charging more fucking money. They're charging more money and making me suffer greater. So I'm down here at Holy Names Cathedral, black guy fucking tell me to get off the fucking steps. And then there's a McDonald's, a black guy in there coming out, an old black, telling me to get the fuck out of the way, black guys flicking me off, fucking doing all kinds of fucking shit to me. So it's interesting. They get away with it all, and every time I call, they fucking hang up on me. But somehow all these people get to call 911 and they show up to threaten me, to ticket me, like the black girl by Wintrust. Her and the Hispanic guy, both of them threatening me. She rolled down her fucking window. I had my windows up, but the sunroof was open. She rolled her windows down to eavesdrop. Then she backed up. And then she threatened me. You guys don't do a good job. He's in destroy me because I told him he didn't do a good job? I don't think they do a good job. I'll tell him again. I can't have an opinion and think they do a shitty job? He can pull me over for the taillight off. Probably. Fucking piece of trash. So they'll give me a ticket, but this guy jaywalking right in front of me, which is highly illegal, the cop will just drive by. Look, right there's the cop. He just drove by. That guy just jaywalked right in front of him. He doesn't give a shit. In Japan, the cop would pull you over immediately. You go to jail for 3 months for jaywalking. They give a shit. These fucking pieces of ass, fat ass, lazy fucks, they don't give a shit about the law. And then you get the prosecutors and that, like, we don't have anyone in here. Well, I see 1 million violations every day, from littering to jaywalking to all kinds of citations. The criminal courthouse should be backed up. But they're like, we don't. Really? It's because the police, they don't charge anyone. And we don't have the death penalty here. They live in fantasy world. Kill, maim, do whatever you want. And just go to jail for life. It's A-okay. There is no ramification. But if you fuck up in deep sea mining or something, you die. But if you go out and murder and rape and pillage, that's okay. You'll get some years in jail. Like Sammy the Bull. Give us some state information and you'll get, killing 16, 15, 19, I don't remember. Somewhere in the teens. You get 5 years in jail. Not only 5 years in jail, you get witness protection program. And in the witness protection, they give them housing, living expense, and everything else. And he killed, 15 plus people. Pretty good deal for being a mass murderer. He gets to walk the streets. He got to travel and everything. And then he started selling illegal drugs. That's our prosecutors. That's our court system. That's our police and detectives. They're so good at what they fucking do. No, they're not. They suck. And I met Sammy the Bull when he was in Arizona. He was selling a ton of ecstasy. I wasn't doing any. But again, He was in witness protection. They're giving him government money. They pay for his housing and everything. They gave him a stipend to live on. A stipend to live on. So he gets money, he gets housing, he gets everything. And then to make extra money, he gets a side job selling illegal drugs. And the federal government turned a blind eye. Look up the story. It's local law enforcement that got sick of it and busted him. The government said, leave him alone. The federal government said. So he was dealing shitloads of drugs and the federal government didn't give a shit. Local law enforcement did and busted him. And it was a pretty sizable drug ring. But you can kill all those people, and it doesn't talk about all the other crimes he did. He had shitloads of other crimes. And life is good. He's out, he's traveling, now he's in jail. But again, if he didn't do that, the drug dealing, he'd be out on the street living good life. And he's not the only one. There's lots of mass murderers. You know that? There's shitloads of mass murderers that have been released from the prison. The average sentence was 7.5 years for premeditated murder in the first degree in the United States. I pulled the statistics from before. Published them on Facebook. 7.5 years because of the war on drugs, picking up, instead of sending somebody that gets busted for cocaine to rehab, like my roommate, Dominic. He had to go in for piss tests and monitoring because he got busted for marijuana. He turned to cocaine. That cleans out of your system in 24 hours. So he just traded drugs. But they didn't put him into a rehab and made it mandatory. And they didn't test for other drugs. They did a piss test, which fails. But if they did a hair and follicle test, and they went in and randomly took a strand of his hair, they would have seen that he was doing cocaine. But you don't understand the different drug tests. And all they did was a piss test. And he passed it every single time. Because that's only shit that you're doing now. Not over a period of time. So if they did a hair strand from him, and you can pull beard hairs and mustache hairs, they're shorter, but still they work. In case they don't have, they're bald, or they shave their head, they have a beard and mustache, well, you can pull that as well. But the thing is, they just made him take a piss test. He pissed clean every time. And then once he was done his monitoring, he went back to marijuana and doing cocaine. He didn't give up the cocaine. But the thing is, it was the federal government, or the law enforcement, I should say, Tucson PD, with their program, that got him doing cocaine. And when he did it, he got me doing cocaine. So it was the government who fucked my life. And they seem to do it every day. Fucking my life. So it's the government is why I ended up getting addicted to drugs and having drug and alcohol problems. The I keep on saying, the state government. Because if they did their right job with Dominic, he would have been clean. They would have tested a hair and follicle with urinalysis. Cross-testing. so they can see if he uses any other forms of drugs. But they didn't do that. So he just switched drugs, as I found out with flight attendants and that. They told me models use cocaine differently. Beer and alcohol has too many calories. So they use cocaine because they can still stay thin. No calories. But flight attendants and that, just like they show you in the movie with Denzel Washington, as he plays a pilot, what is he doing in that movie? Shitloads of cocaine. Why? Because it flushes out of your system. So they weren't doing a hair and follicle test on him, were they? No, they were just doing random piss tests every so often. And he pissed clean. Because he would only do it on his time off, and it would clear out of his system in 24 hours. So if they did a random piss test before work, he'd pass. The movie shows the truth. They figure their way out around the system. That's all they do. Isn't that what illegal immigrants do? They figure their way across the border around the system. Isn't that what cartels do? They figure their way around the system. Everybody cheating the system. Everybody fucking me out of my money. Cheating the system. So my life is shit. But the government has destroyed my fucking life. And they've given all these motherfuckers the greatest opportunity to live the greatest of lives. And they're pieces of shit. So the government, the Tucson government, got me addicted to drugs and alcohol. The Tucson government, through their ineffective programs. Why do you think I hate fucking politicians? They're pieces of fucking shit. They put together shit that doesn't work, that's ineffective, that's out of date. They have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And then the idiots that lead them, like Jesse Jackson in Operation Push, all those years, I worked in Pacific Gardens and many black charities, and we're going way before the 2000s, in the 90s. And he doesn't do shit with any of the homeless people on the street. He didn't do shit for them. He didn't do shit for the rape victims. It was me driving Will down because his sister got raped by a black guy. So I don't get it. He didn't do shit. But now they're looking to name Jesse Jackson Way. And all these people get their names in lights. And they don't do fucking shit. They solve nothing. But everybody's the hero. They're so great. It's amazing. And I get fucking beat on and abused. And it's not the first time the cops have fucked me over and the government. Many times throughout my whole life, they've made my life a living fucking hell. And every day they allow my life to be a living fucking hell. So it's amazing how they continuously screw me. It's unbelievable. The police officer in the police station, I shouldn't have even been in the police station, but I was in the police station, and then I'm talking to a black guy, about his rights. And the police guy tells me to stop. I'm like, I'm just talking about rights in his situation. And then he fucking clocks me upside the head. He punches me in the head. The police officer. The Chicago police officer. 13th District, not here anymore, punches me in the head. Or the Hispanic cop who throws the ID off of my fucking face in front of my friend Ross. Pulls me over for no reason. I dropped off my friend. He pulled me over because we were white. Do you know that? He pulled me over because I was white. And I get black people complaining, fuck you! But I didn't have a problem getting pulled over. And he told me, we're pulling you over because you're in a minority neighborhood and people pick up drugs and prostitution in this area. Well, I'm sober. I don't have any drugs on me. And my friend, and I gave him the name and address. And we're just going home. I didn't know they sold drugs in I have no idea. And then he gets pissed and he whips the fucking ID at my face and it hits me and it falls at Ross's feet. He picks it up and gives it back to me and he fucking cut me with it. And there was a white cop behind him. He didn't say anything. But again, we didn't do anything wrong. I was just dropping off a friend, giving him a ride home, and then we were going home. And I hadn't had anything. We didn't have any drugs on us. And we weren't in the neighborhood for drugs But I got pulled over because I was white. And then, in another place, I'm going through a small town and I have an out-of-town plates. And this is driving from Arizona back home. And the sheriff follows my car from the beginning of the town all the way till I leave the town. Because I had Illinois plates. Out-of-state plates. And he follows me all the way through the town. Or another one, I pay cash for the ticket at the airport. And they say I meet a profile. And they walk me to the gate and stand with me at the gate. Until we started boarding, I boarded the plane and flew home. But they said because I paid cash, I met the thing and they had to further evaluate me. But I'm next to a fucking black guy and everything to them is racist and they do all the fucking crime. I go to D.C., the Smithsonian, and in 8th grade, they tell me, don't go around the neighborhood outside of this area. That all the black people shoot and kill and mug and everything. And I looked it up when I came home. I'm like, it's the murder capital. And they told us, don't go outside the neighborhood. And don't trust black people. And they were right. Shooting, killing, mugging. That was all black people. It's all surrounded by a black neighborhood. I'm in 8th grade. So they say, stay away from the black people. But it isn't racism. They're doing drugs, crack, everything. They're robbing, mugging, killing, raping. Truly. Unbelievable. And then the same in Gary, Indiana. And then in Chicago. And it's all black. Being the black murder capital moves. Like my friend Jimmy Clinton lives in Oakland. And all black. He moved in there after the military. He lived in Oakland for a while. An all black neighborhood. And he's like, they're shooting and killing and drug and It's like, it's fucking crazy. And then I read about them wanting to do Ebonics because they said black people are too stupid. Who said this? Black leadership. I didn't say it. Black leadership in Oakland said that black people are too stupid. And so they wanted to teach Ebonics because, you know, they can't compete. And I'm like thinking, well, you're going to make them, if they don't learn English and learn math and other things, they're going to be fucked. But black leadership pulled a story from the Oakland Public Schools. Then the black sergeants here in Chicago, they were going to give them favoritism and give them a separate exam because they said black people can't meet the standards, can't pass the sergeant's exam. And they want more black sergeants. But they can't pass the sergeant's exam. And I said, well, why don't they give them tutoring? And there could be an opportunity for outside tutoring, and they can give them a subsidy, and they can get all the outside tutoring, but you don't water down the exam. They carry guns, they make decisions. That makes Chicago more risky. But they wanted to weaken the exam, make a special exam that's watered down for black police officers so more can become sergeants. And then you get the 2 white cops in New York with the black female sergeant who ordered the black male to be apprehended physically, and he has a heart attack. She's off camera, and then it's a racial incident. They only did what their boss said. The black female sergeant. The 2 white guys, they did exactly what they were told. She didn't call the ambulance. She didn't do CPR. And the funny thing is, she stayed off camera. Yeah, she stayed just outside of the camera. So when the incident happened, all you see is the 2 white guys, the officers, the street cops, but you don't see the black female. That didn't come out till much later through the reporter that she was there. She was the one giving the command. She was the reason Eric Gardner died, not the white cops. But you see these things, and then you get, what is Jesse Jackson doing? So I don't get it. So everybody's complaining. And I look at this failed leadership. And it's the same thing with the Southern whites. At least Hillary Clinton wanted to go into Tennessee and give them high speed and do something about the mining community, the coal miners. That's all white people in the mines, choking up the dust and dying early. That's all white people in the oil industry that worked on those rigs, that took all this heavy manual labor, like the Irish digging the canals and that, the white niggers they called them. So again, there are issues, and it seems like black people think they were the only ones having issues. And they gave themselves an out, and they rioted and burned cities and everything else. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. They got to get over their fucking challenges. Like Thomas says, the black economists, their leadership sold them the fuck out. And it happens with all that you pick bad leadership. And it sells you the fuck out. So I'm very disenchanted with the voting system. Under Trump, I lost my career and job and life got worse. And then under Joe Biden, it continued to be worse. And now under Trump, it continues to be shit. 2 presidents, 2.5 terms, continuing to be fucking garbage. And the government has done a fucking number on me. And all these motherfuckers get to live the good life. They get to go to these plays and those plays. They get to have a family and kids and friends. And everybody hates me. So, you know, Chicago became, because of the Hispanic community, Chicago became the main distribution point for the Sinaloa cartel. Yeah, because they were in the little village. And I went down there with Victor, talking to a Hispanic female, which I haven't seen her. I was supposed to do stuff with property casualty with her. But the conversation got talking about getting the drugs and the drug cartels out of the little village. And I gave her all kinds of information on the narco trafficking within the little village. And this is 16. I've never seen her again. And the only reason I went down there because Brad and Victor were part of the Little Village Chamber of Commerce. And it's not good for them to be having narco traffickers in the little village. Chicago became the main distribution point for the Sinaloa cartel, just like it's the main logistic point for all kinds of commerce. Well, they made it the main logistic point for drugs because of all the commerce, all the trucks and trains and all the planes coming into Chicago. It made it easy to smuggle it into the center, and once it's here, they break it up and they distribute it all around the country. So Chicago became the main distribution point for narcotics trafficking around the United States. And who knows, if it was narcotics trafficking, how about all kinds of other trafficking? Like for counterfeit goods and everything else. Because if all this commerce comes through Chicago, it makes it a perfect distribution point for all kinds of other things, even terrorist action. Because the commerce comes in and goes out. It's a great way to get things in and then smuggle them out to anywhere in the country, no matter what it is. So it's interesting how that's been happening, and our local law enforcement, like the Chicago police, they don't inspect and pull over trucks and inspect cargo. We had the largest cocaine bust in U.S. history on the south side of Chicago. And do you know how it happened? Because of 9/11. And what was it? It was a big U-Haul truck stuffed with cocaine from front to back. And it was left on the street. And it was there for months. And the people in the neighborhood got worried because it didn't move, and eventually called the cops. And the cops popped the lock, and it was filled. And they said the driver, now this is getting in Chicago, a U-Haul truck, not the small one, the big U-Haul truck, filled with cocaine from the front to back. I mean, stuffed, jam-packed The largest single narcotics bust in U.S. history. And it didn't come from police work, because they don't inspect trucks. Unlike the state troopers, they pull over trucks, and they should be talking to the county sheriff, should be talking to the state police too. My friend Murray, he runs the narcotics task force for the state police. But they pull over semis, and they check their log. They also check and inspect the brakes on the truck. They inspect the tire inflation. They inspect the cargo. And yes, they make sure the driver hasn't been driving too long. How about taxis? How often do they pull over a taxi and ask them for the log of how many hours they've been driving? They do it for truck drivers. It should be the same for Uber, Lyft, and taxi drivers. They should pull them over and say, can I see your log? When did you start? How long have you been driving for? The reason is it prevents accidents. And they have human cargo. Where the semi crashes, it's one driver and whatever semi full of apples. But they're carrying human passengers, and the city of Chicago doesn't pull them over and randomly breathalyzes them. And they can make it mandatory that they have to do a breathalyzer. Random inspections. Oh yeah, the government can random stop and frisk. That's the New York thing. Well, they can do that with cab drivers and truck these workers, and the city can require them that they have to submit to random checks. And so I just had a truck pass me by, and you think the Chicago police would pull them over and, see how long they've been driving and see if their credentials are good, check out the brakes and everything else on the truck? That's what the state police do, and they look for all kinds of contraband and see if the driver is doing any form of drugs. Now, I haven't seen them pull over anyone recently, but it's a program. I saw them put the scales under the truck, pull the truck over on the highway. They put the scales under the tires, weigh the truck to see if it has too much weight, if it's violating and the load is too heavy. And so they do this, but the one thing they didn't have is a dog. Chicago needs them the same. To check out the cabin, the smell, and search. Smelling for drugs, explosives, gunpowder. The dog can be trained to smell for those. And so they can pop the cabin, and they don't get the big dog. They get the little dog, and they teach it to walk over things. So they can pick up the dog and put it in the back of the truck. And the dog can walk on the top of the cargo. Just like in a cargo ship. You need the small little Chihuahua type dogs that have one of them that has good agility. You need the little dogs like the, Yo Quiero Taco Bell dog. That little Chihuahua. So you can put them in places and they can go into small places. Like, John Wayne Gacy, the crawl space under the house. You can drop the dog down and have him go through the crawl space. And now you can put a collar on them with a camera. And they can alert you that with a little, voice monitor. So you have a Bluetooth connection to the dog. You can hear the dog and see what the dog's seeing. And it can alert you to any type of contraband that's illegal. Drugs, firearms, So, again, you need the little tiny dogs, not the big dogs. You're not trying to, use it to police people like they do on the RTA and that. They have the muzzles on them, but still, they're there for, controlling the crowd and everything else and taking down a perpetrator. They pop off the muzzle and let the dog go. These dogs are just looking for cadavers or, drugs, firearms, explosives. So you need the little tiny dogs. Not just the big dogs, you need the little tiny dogs, and you need to start pulling over the trucks and asking, when did you get on the clock? And checking on, making sure they're not drinking. So that goes for the taxi cab drivers and that. So they have to punch out and can't punch back in for a certain amount of hours. And this forces Uber and Lyft to pay their people fair. Because legally, technically, a truck driver can only drive for so many hours. And that means they have to compensate them correctly. Yeah, and it creates spaces for other drivers. Because they can't drive for 20 hours or 30 hours straight. Which they have done. So that means they have to pay them more per hour. And that forces them to get better with their logistics, knowing when people need cabs. Like hotels should trend when people check in and when people go for dinner and go out. Oh, yeah. They should monitor when people come in and when people leave. They have a counter at the door, but they should be monitoring people coming in, and flow out. And how many of them, and the hotel needs to keep this, how many of them ask for ride share or taxi cab? Recording that. That's why they need the Uber and Lyft sign. And that's why taxi cab, and they can see how many Uber, Lyft, and taxi cabs people take. So they can get an idea of flow. And what do people use? So if they're advertising, like they can advertise with Uber or Lyft on their app. Truly. They can put little ads on the Uber and Lyft app. Uber, Lyft, and Via app. Or what is the taxi cab app called? Oh, they have the same thing. I was with them, and they do it. It's whatever the taxi cab. They have the same thing for taxi cabs now that Uber and Lyft have. So taxi cabs are competing with Uber and Lyft. So they have the rideshare thing too, where you can just order a cab right through the app. But they can have it where you can order any cab. Yellow cab and flash cab and, Rojo cab. So the app can have all the cab services. And it's when cabs compete. Like, the money store, not the money store, the loan thing, where the lenders compete. But it's the same thing. So they can do this. And they can compete. All the cabs can compete on pricing, and you get to choose. It tells the cab's rate, and you can choose which cab company you want. So it has all the different cabs on it. So it's an aggregator like, TripAdvisor or Trivago. They already do it for travel sites. Why wouldn't you do it for rideshare and taxis? So Uber is just one price, so they don't have it like independent taxis. They have different prices. So Uber and Lyft would be on there in their pricing. Uber, Lyft, and Via with all the different cab companies. And you can pick between them. It's just an aggregator. And then it transitions down into their app. Or you can order right through the app. If you don't have an app, then you can order right through the app. But it lets you see pricing. And then Uber and everybody have to force to compete. Because the market is transparent. And so you can see all the different cab companies' prices, plus Uber, Lyft, and Via prices to go to O'Hare Airport. And you get to choose which one you want. When rideshare and taxis compete. So, again, creating more transparency, competition. Knife sharpens knife. They have to get more efficient. Their cars, they'll have to get better cars. They'll have to keep the tires and the car running correct. Because if they burn too much fuel, they'll lose too much money. If they don't keep up the maintenance in that. And again, I believe they need to be inspected. So I believe health inspectors have to look at them. Oh yeah. Contagious diseases. Health inspectors. Like here, the cab gets pulled over for a health inspection. You inspect all these other businesses, like this hotel B&B, they get inspected by the health inspector. And then you have buildings, they have an elevator inspector and everything else. The building inspector, they get inspected for mechanical function. Why shouldn't cabs? Why shouldn't Uber and Lyft? Why shouldn't they get inspected? The state troopers already do that for trucks. They pull them over, they inspect the brakes and the tires, and then they look at the log for driving. They should be drug testing the driver, and they look at the cargo. So why wouldn't they do that with cabs and that, with the health inspectors and pulling them over and looking at him? Go to American Graffiti. The cop is out there with a measurement to see if the car has enough clearance to be street legal. And he tells them, no, the car's too low. It's not street legal. I got to give you a ticket. But the cop actually measures how high the car is off the ground. Do you know that same law applies? You see all these cars that are lowriders and they make all those grooves in the pavement? They do. They eat up and they tear up the pavement. Because the cops, they don't do anything anymore. They don't get out of the car and say, hey, your car is not street legal. But they used to. Watch American Graffiti. He gets out of the car and measures. They make sure that tail lights and everything else. That used to be America. Holding people accountable. But then we get away with it. And the cops, they don't do shit about shit. They drive around and ignore all the crimes around them. So you're worried about, COVID-19 and communicable diseases and all this? Well, I don't get it. Why aren't they inspecting the taxi? And then they can check out and make sure, their license is not expired. They have proper insurance. Truly, their license and registration and everything is all good. So again, I don't understand. Why are they letting them get away with it? Because I don't get away with anything, and also everybody does whatever the fuck they want to me, and they get away with it. So it's like I get punished for everything, and they get punished for nothing. So I don't get it. It's fucking maddening. So why aren't they doing this? There's the stretch buses. So they didn't have to put more buses on the street. They could have one driver carry bigger loads. And because they have to make turns around tight corners, unlike semis that can't make turns, they use this little rubber in between right here, and it's flex, so the middle of the body, it can turn around tight corners, unlike a semi. But maybe they should use that for semi trucks. But they use that so they can get around corners. But also it was designed so it can carry bigger loads with one driver. So they didn't need more drivers, they just need bigger buses. I think that's smart. And what happens? The driver gets paid a shitload more because they're not hiring a bunch of other drivers to drive the bus because they need more capacity. They just got bigger buses. So they didn't need more drivers. And the driver of this bus, right here, you need greater skill to be able to drive one of these. But you get paid a shitload because you have more fares per bus. You have more fares per bus. So instead of needing more bus drivers like trains, you don't need more train drivers. You just add more cars to the train. And they might have to pull up the train in segments in the station. And you say the rear car 7 through, the first 6 cars go in. And then the other 6 cars are waiting. So when they pull into the station, the first 6 cars pull up. They drop off people in the RTA. And they say cars 7 through 12. You will be next. Stay seated. And then they pull the front end of the train out of the station and stop. And then they unload cars 7 through 12, letting off those passengers, and then letting the new passengers get on. And then the train pulls away. But now the train has 12 cars, but they only need one train driver. So you don't need more RTA train drivers. You just need more cars on the train. To a point, and then eventually it's a crossover and you need to get another driver. But those drivers of the RTA in the buses, the CTA, just like the Metro, they get paid shitloads more money. So when the Metro makes a stop, the first several cars stop, and they get out, and then they pull forward, and they let out the back half. And so the Metro driver gets paid more money. You don't need more Metro drivers. And what is this? Efficiency, so we can fill the voids in other places. So we don't need to get more train drivers and more bus drivers and more RTA drivers and more Metro drivers. We just have to expand the amount of people they can carry. And so they make a lot more money. The drivers make a lot more money. And they can live a good life. So it's the same thing with the rideshare. They'll be forced to get their algorithms down and predictive analytics, knowing when people need what. So even in the Uber, they should be optimizing when people call an Uber on the individual level. So Jen, every Monday morning, took a cab. Every Thursday night, took a cab back from the airport. Highly predictive. She flew out on Monday morning at a certain time, and she flew back on Thursday night at a certain time. And she used to have a regular cab driver pick her up in the morning and drive her, and then have the cab driver pick her up on Thursday night and take her home. So again, using predictive analytics, and the hotels are supposed to be helping them so they don't have a lot of cabs sitting in front of the hotel occupying space for randomness. They have one or two cabs, that's it. They don't need a whole line of cabs sitting there. They're not making any money. And I believe the hotel needs to pay the cab company if they want cabs sitting out in front for random convenience. They need to share in the cost of the convenience. So it's something they work out between the hotels and the cab services. How many cabs will they have outside? And like in Vegas, they have a really good thing when you get your bag in that. They ask you where you're going and so on. And you can get a cab, and they're all in a line, and they set you up. But in New York, you can take a van into the city. You can take a cab, a van, or a bus. Do you know I took a bus from the airport to Manhattan? Now, it drops you off at certain corners, the bus, but I took a big bus, and the bus filled up everybody, but the trip from the airport to Manhattan, it was dirt cheap, like $12 or something. Really cheap compared to taking an individual cab, which was like $50 or whatever. And so I took a bus. Now you can take a van, but the van is more expensive than the bus. The bus was fine. It was nice. And the driver drops you off at certain locations, and the driver gets out and unloads your bags. And then you have a short distance to your, final destination. But it's a bus. They fill up a whole bus. I must have been on with 50 people. And they run a bus service from the city to the airport. They also pick back up at each of those stops. And so they have bus full of people go to New York. They have a bus full of people going to Manhattan and busfuls of people from Manhattan going to the airport. Then they also use van services. And then you have your individual taxis, Uber, and Lyfts. And they also have private cars and everything else. Vegas doesn't have that. It's even cheaper. The bus is the cheapest. The van is less expensive than the taxis, but more expensive than the bus. So they all have their pricing areas based on capacity. So I don't understand O'Hare Airport or Midway. And then obviously what you don't have in Vegas that you have in Chicago, both O'Hare and that, you can take the RTA. And I've taken the RTA to Midway and taken the RTA when I lived on Orleans by Cabrini Green. I took the RTA to the airport and took the front to Midway from Orleans and Division, basically. And I took the RTA to the airport and took the RTA home. The only thing that sucks is that they don't have room on the train for luggage. Coming from O'Hare and that, they have no, it's not convenient if you have several bags for luggage. So they have to make those trains that go by Midway Airport and O'Hare Airport more convenient. And they should offer buses too, like Pace and all that from O'Hare and Midway. So again, you should have numerous options for your transportation. And why? This allows the airports to handle more people, getting them in, getting them out efficiently through numerous forms of transportation. So it makes good egress and exit. So coming and going to and from the airports becomes incredibly convenient. And you can do this all over the world. I don't know what they do in London and others. You got to see what they offer. Like in Cairo, truly in Egypt, the fastest growing population in the Middle East. So you got to figure out what they're offering and fill in the donut holes. So there's opportunities all over the world and even here. But again, I would like the police to know, check out these companies and ask them, can I see your ID and inspect? Holding the company accountable for what type of people they hire. You don't want a known pedophile delivering food to an elementary school. So again, they got to get their head out of their fucking asses and do the right thing. And this is why we have all these problems, because terrorists and all these criminals think they can get away with all this shit because nothing's inspected. Like I told you, the largest cocaine bust in the history of the United States was because somebody reported a truck sitting there and been sitting there for months or weeks. I forget exactly time frame. But that wasn't detective work. That was a citizen calling it in. Think about that. And we pay all our money for law enforcement. And most of the biggest busts, like Ted Bundy, he got pulled over for a basic ticket. They had no idea who he operated within 7 states, killing, they think, over 100 and something people. And his first victim was at age 14, a little girl that lived in the neighborhood he did. So he was a murderer since age 14. 14 years old, Ted Bundy became, at 14 years old, he started his serial killer. 14. And highly sophisticated, too. If you've ever read about it, how he broke into the house, how he entered, how he set everything up and staged everything, they had no idea. But again, it's a 99% probability unsolved murder that Ted Bundy killed her at 14. Ted Bundy was 14. I don't know how old the victim was. But again, this stuff, and you think all these, they're so good. Well, I'm trying to make them that good. Law enforcement and that. Where it's not this, oh, by accident, by chance. Like the Unabomber. How was the Unabomber? All the FBI and all their forensics and everything else, they couldn't run facial recognition through what? Driver's license and state ID and passport databases. They could only run them through criminal databases, known criminals. Well, Ted Bundy was a teacher. He wasn't Ted Bundy. The Unabomber was a teacher. He wasn't a known criminal. He had no criminal record. But if you look at the face, all you had to do is run him through the DMV database. He drove a car. You would have picked him up in a heartbeat. That's simple. Through a simple DMV database search. But they only searched the criminal databases. That's why all these people get away. And that's why every child has to have a state ID. So all of them are in the database. But they had no idea who he was until his brother turned him in. That's the only reason they caught the Unabomber. And he was killing judges. And you think the judges would be upset at the system because he targeted judges. So I don't get it. Thank God he didn't target prosecutors like Jennifer Kim in the city of Chicago. So again, it was that simple to catch him. Like the LA riots and all that video, you can go back through the DMV databases and catch all the looters. I mean, it's that freaking simple. Like all these store crimes and all the bank robberies. They weren't able to search the state ID, passport, and DMV databases. But if they could search the state IDs, the DMV, and the passports, they would have caught all these bank robbers. They would have caught all these criminals all over the fucking place. But the only databases they could search were the criminal databases. But these people aren't in the criminal databases. So you have to be able to search the DMV, state ID, and passport databases. And green cards, they take pictures for too. And that's why you can't have illegal immigrants. because they have to have a passport. And I'm sorry, carrying your passport on you should be common if you're an immigrant. I went to countries with a passport, and you carry your passport with you. You don't want to lose your passport. If you do, you have to go to the U.S. Embassy to get a new one. But again, you have to carry your passport with you. So I don't get it. Showing that you're in the country legally, whether you're a student and you're a foreign student, you have to carry it with you. A passport goes with the green card. It has your, searching it, making sure, you didn't overstay your visa. That's why they need the passport, because the passport goes with the visa. Oh, do you know my visa was in my passport? The passport and visa go together. And it shows how long you're allowed to stay. And if you get it renewed, they put a new one in your passport. Your visa, your educational visa or your work visa is in your passport. So I don't get it why they wouldn't have to carry it, like the commercial saying that I have to, because of ICE, I have to carry my passport because I'm an immigrant. Yeah, so you should have to carry your passport. It has your visa in it that shows that you're allowed to be in this country. The passport and visa go together. People forget that. So they can look up in the passport, when they look it up, they look at the visa to see if you have a right to be here. Because a lot of people overstay their visas. That's one of the biggest thing, is that all these people came in legally but didn't extend their visa or couldn't find a sponsor and should have left but didn't. But this is why my small group, my Korean friends from South Korea, they left when they couldn't find a sponsor and their visa was expiring and couldn't get a sponsor. They left the country. They went back to South Korea. They were in my small group. They left. They didn't overstay their visas. So again, I don't understand what we're doing as a country. We have all these problems because people aren't doing their fucking job. So I don't get it. It's really because people aren't doing their job. So if they start doing their job, like the church in the black community, they're supposed to be doing stuff about STDs and that. Truly, the church has to talk about this stuff as well. So, anyways, and it's nice if you could find a good match girlfriend and have a great relationship. I had a great relationship with Jen. It got destroyed by outside forces. But again, making a better place, making a better country. So you think we'd be working on these issues, resolving these issues that have led to so many. We would have never had 9/11. They had student visas and other visas. but they weren't working jobs at all. They had work visas and student visa. They weren't going to school, and they weren't working jobs. They weren't doing what they were in the country for. But no one checked, hey, is blank blank going to the University of Arizona? Is he showing up, not just registered? And this is why I believe in college and that they have to take attendance. And you have student IDs, and you swipe the student ID in and out of the class, and they use the cameras to do facial recognition matching you. So somebody can't give somebody else their ID to swipe in and out of class. You want to know attendance per class. How many of the students are showing up? How many of the students aren't showing up? So you can get an idea of the classroom dynamics. And what is average attendance and so on. And then there's vending machines and food courts and many other things. Need to know when students go to school. And that's one thing about being a remote. It destroys all the businesses. Here I'm around DePaul, and all these businesses rely on students coming to campus. And if students don't go to campus, then all these businesses go out of business, like Wells Fargo. You don't get students. You know, I opened up checking accounts with multiple banks in Tucson because I was a student. That's where I had my bank accounts in Tucson. And I opened up my first bank account, not my first account, but I opened up my first college banking account at the University of Arizona. I had a banking account. In Benedictine College, and that's in Kansas, we didn't go off of campus. We hardly ever went off of campus. There was no shopping district. Truly, no one went shopping in Atchison, Kansas. But they could have if they built it out and they got the students to have a place to go shopping and to malls. Truly, then even a school that has all these students, 1,600 of them, 1,600 is still a lot of students to go shopping. I never bought any clothes when I was at Benedictine. Zero clothes. I didn't eat in any restaurants in Tucson. I mean, in Atchison, Kansas. No restaurants in town. I did stop and get gas every so often. But I just went down to the Dairy Queen and got a Blizzard every so often. That's it. So all the kids on campus, we never left campus, really. We didn't do anything with the town, except on the weekends we would go to a bar and I would go there to shoot pool. And we visited one particular place, and it had all of us students that went there. But again, that was about it. And so they were missing out on all the student action, going and buying clothes and, going to restaurants in the community. So DePaul, if the students don't come to campus and everything's internet, then all the college campuses, all the rental properties and everything, where you look at the University of Arizona, there are almost 60,000 people. They build it out, and that's why buying a house in Tucson, I told my sister not to sell, because they drive people to campus. Truly, they drive people to campus. ASU has a huge body of students off campus. Their on campus is still, they're almost at 80,000 on campus. And they have another 80,000, they're 50-50. So it's not like they're not, but when you're looking at this, if you get too much hybrid, then the parking structures like the U of A, people have to go to classes and everything. And all the parking, U of A made tons of money from student parking. All the students bought parking passes and they park on campus. And so they buy properties, and yeah, they bought properties, they rent properties. We rented so many houses as students. So you get all these students renting houses, eating in town, going to stores and shopping and everything else. And so I'm very leery of too many people going to school via the web, because then all the real estate and all that, all the students that support, which the University of Arizona understands, is huge economics for the community. Those students, the 60,000 students, they rent a lot of properties, they buy properties, they eat at the food establishments, they do all kinds of things. So it supports the local community incredibly. So again, all those students are a good thing. So I worry too much internet and not enough in person. It will destroy the communities around schools that drive their economics from serving the students. And that includes the rental markets and everything.